Ladies and gentlemen, we are back in 2026 after what feels like an eternity away from doing this. It's really weird. I feel like all I've done is running and being a dad and being a husband and bridge and eating for the last few weeks because that's all I have been doing. I haven't really thought much about poker. I knew I was coming back to work today. My son woke up at 2:30 a.m. this morning, and I went downstairs and just got him back to sleep and stuff. And then as I came back up, I was planning on just going straight back to sleep, sleep quality and all of that. But I just couldn't because I was thinking about the business. I was thinking about Carrot Corner, and I was thinking about like how I was going to use the next sort of 6 months. And what I really want to do is absolutely nail this course I'm working on, Modern Master Plan. I'm about to record episode 4 later this week. And it is on this node that you're seeing here, which is where we have checked behind on the flop, on what we call a nutted flop. Nutted flops are ones where we have a big nut advantage, so something like Broadway, different Broadway, low card, or 3 low cards, unpaired, not monotone, not 8-7-6. You get the picture. Overpairs are thriving. The pocket aces test. If aces are thriving, it's kind of your flop. And you can go bigger. Well, actually, if queens is a better litmus test. If queens are doing really well, then it's definitely a big bet board, unless it's double Broadway, like ace king X or something. I don't know. You get the point, right? Big nut advantage situations. And then on the flop, we're playing 200% pot or check, and we've checked. And then on the turn, we've gone ahead and bet. In this case, we've bet pot on the turn, although that doesn't always need to be the case. There's some turns where we go smaller, and then we get to this river spot where we have the chance to bet again. And this is a node you're going to come across sometimes, not super frequently, but to plot your way through the game tree here, you can imagine that if you adopt the cutting edge hypermodern strategy in Modern Master Plan, you're going to be checking the flop a lot, right? Because you're playing a very, very big flop c-bet. And when you're playing a very big c-bet on the flop, you're going to check back a lot. Hello, Chirpy Hop on YouTube says he's snowed in. Plenty of time to chat. Excellent. That's why we're here. Chat away. Any questions about the course, about this spot, let me know. We are going to play some poker in a little while as well, and you guys are going to help me pick a brand new GG Poker screen name. This is the last day that I'm allowed to change it. I haven't changed it yet from Bluffosaurus. I'm going to change it to something today. Get your votes in the chat. What should I be called this year on GG Poker? Funny names, serious names, plays on words. It's all good. Let me know what your ideas are. So we'll get to this node whenever we check back the flop, which will happen about 70% of the time on average, 65 to 75%, depending on the texture. Then on the turn, we will delayed c-bet quite a lot. We'll delayed c-bet maybe for pot size about 30% of the time, something like that. If it's a smaller bet spot, it might be a bit more. And when we do delayed c-bet, we'll get called. Not most of the time. Most of the time we'll get fold. We'll get fold about 60-something% of the time in that spot. It's a favourable world when we go pot as a delayed c-bet on turn, but we'll still get called sometimes, which means we'll still get to this river spot a decent amount of the time. We'll get to this river spot more than we'll get to something like a triple barrel spot where we have to like c-bet the flop and get called. Like for that to happen when you're playing a really big bet, it's kind of rare. So the check notes that arise from playing a really big c-bet on certain flops are more common by far than the notes where you bet the flop and get called. And therefore, the first part of the course focuses heavily on turn delayed c-bet, river after turn delayed c-bet, double delayed c-bet, facing turn probe, that kind of thing. That's like the first sort of 7-8 episodes of the course. So getting really, really good at that, taking villain into your wheelhouse and dominating them, exploiting them because you know the lay of the land better than they do. That's the whole point of this course that's coming out in June, and it's going to be 30 hours long. It's going to be an absolute behemoth. Matt Newman, welcome to the chat, an old friend and supporter of Carrot Corner. One of my fondest memories of Matt Newman is the staff in the Hippodrome coming up to him and telling him that he only had 2 hours left in the casino because he'd been there for nearly 24 hours. Good times. So hope you're doing well. Hope you had a good new year. Hope the family are well. We have King 3 then, and we need to decide what to do here. So I'm going to show you a couple of things, right? So these boxes can be quite useful when we're training here as well in piles. So equity, hero versus range. This is how well our hand is doing. This is how well our range is doing. So our range gets here with 39% equity, which is not very much, but that's normal when we go for a very big turn bet, and then the river comes something that doesn't smash our range. We do have some flush draws here. We bet a lot of those on flop. We have some that delayed c-bet, but they're not a massive part of our range. And for all intents and purposes, our bluffs have not improved on this river. So we're going to have to realize that and give up hands that have negative and neutral blockers at very high frequencies. We'll pure give up the hands with negative blockers. This will not be a spot where we have an abundance of fold equity. What we have to understand about King 3, though, is that it essentially just has no showdown value because, well, can it ever win? Can villain ever check call the turn with something like the King 9 of diamonds? The King 8 of diamonds? Maybe, but it feels like they just lead those hands almost pure, if not pure, them being combo draws here. So our equity here is something. It's not zero. And because it's not zero, and because this is not a very favorable spot, and because we don't have a diamond, I'm going to guess that we should just be checking this hand. Okay, it's kind of close. You can actually bluff. And if you look at the sizing schemes down here, the way we're approaching this spot and the way I'm training this today is we're going to be choosing between a B200. We will not have many of those at all, by the way, on rivers like this that do make villain the nuts a decent amount of the time. We'll have a B100 and we'll have a B50. And we need to decide based on our value range what sizes we're going to be applying. And what I normally recommend is simplifying to 2 of those sizes maximum. And here, if we bring up the solver, we can see that there's one size that isn't really being used. And that's the thin value size. So we should really be able to predict this. There aren't that many hands in our range that are worth reopening action for in position in this spot. So we're mainly going pot, and that's a function of the fact that we don't have as big a nut advantage on this river as we would have on a brick. But we're also going some 2x pot, but that's going to just be the very best value hands in our range for the most part, straights, flushes, and of course something with a blocker when we're bluffing. Bluffing B200 without a diamond blocker is probably rare. I don't know if there's any instance of that at all. There usually isn't in these nodes. But you will find some hands that bluff smaller without a diamond blocker. When we look at our actual hand, the King 3, we can bluff. The blockers are okay here. Blocker properties are all right here. But there is a little smidgen of showdown value as well, and we don't have the blocker to go for the really big sizing. So that is the spot. If we go back to the turn, just to walk our way through the game tree here. On flop, you can see we're playing B200 or check, and we're betting at 28% frequency. That's pretty typical for these spots. Good afternoon, Spuds. How's it going? A Carrot Knight in our Discord, one of the bearers of the Carrot Corner flag, I would say. Do you coach live players too? Hello, Gregory. Welcome. I do coach live players, but I'm currently not taking on any students because I'm focusing on getting the course done. Good afternoon on Twitch to Doyle Smith, who says, I've yet to get dressed and I'm not wearing trousers. May I still watch for a spell? Yes, that's fine. That's fine by me. Nicola Louise Kerrigan says BB is filtered AF. True. That doesn't mean that we can't bluff. It just means we're going to be... Well, filtered is a funny word, right? Because you can filter a lot, then a card can come that hurts your range, and then you still have to overfold the next street on an unfavorable card, even though you filtered a lot on the turn. So filtered does usually mean you won't be overfolding again on the next street, but not always. If this came 4 straight or something, that's probably really good for hero, very bad for villain. Hero's the one betting all the gut shots as a bluff on the turn. That's the kind of asymmetry that might cause 2 overfolds, even though you filtered on the turn. If that makes sense. So we check back on the flop with most hands. We go to the turn. And we have this delayed c-bet decision. These are very good fold equity spots. We're playing B100 check on most of these. There are some that we play B50 check on when they're very, very wet. But generally pot or check. And what we'll see on these nodes is that we do a lot of bluffing with just stuff like gut shot. We don't need a lot of equity here to be bluffing. In fact, give me a 7 and a 6 of clubs and I can bluff this spot. There's a video coming out on Carrot Corner shortly called You Do Not Need a Draw to Bet the Turn. I'd recommend watching it. And it refers to favourable scenarios like this. Double barrel in position, delayed c-bet in position, that kind of thing. Thank you, Giraffe Partner Buzz. It's good to be back. Got my coffee here. Just been for my extremely tough run. Thank you, Christoph from Carrot Corner for that. who gave me a training regimen for January. We're training for this 10k in May, and I want to do it in under 45 minutes, and he's given me this regimen to do. And today's run was tough because it was very, very icy, and I had to run like 6 fast kilometers with 1 minute rests and then like some warm up and cool downs. But it was fun. I'm enjoying it. I'm very tired now though. So we don't need a draw to bet here. That's the thing. And our hand, bottom pair, is kind of a hybrid. Like, it's usually just getting called by better. If we look here, there is some other stuff calling though. The king 7 of diamonds, etc. The king 10 of hearts. That's not bad. Sorry, that beats us. The king 9 of hearts, the king 9 of diamonds. So that was the hand my mind went to. And that's why we can win sometimes on the river. Interesting stuff. So what am I doing today? Why am I doing this? I'm training. I'm making sure that I know this node very well before I finish off the PowerPoint slide deck for episode 4 on this node, and before I move on to actually recording the episode of the new course. Okay. Ace 9 here. This looks like a degraded hand with some showdown value. Looks like a really clear check. We could guess what our equity is. It's always good to do this as a sort of drill. I don't know. A fair slice of equity, let's just say that. I don't think villain hits many straights. Too many jacks on this river to be a little bit. We're ahead of a 9 that called turn of 4 that called turn of 50, 51%. 55%, okay. Not far off. And range equity is close to hand equity. On the flop, is it better to use small sizes versus sticky players rather than pot overbet when you have a bluff? I mean, it depends how sticky. People have a fight or flight gate, I like to say, where they start freaking out. And even some classically sticky players might start folding lots of stuff for B200 against like an absolute station or something. You possibly do just want to size down your bluffs and size up your value though. But that's just getting into like very exploitative waters, right? Okay. So we're going to check this one with that level of equity, of course. King 10. We do check a lot of top pair back on the flop here when we're playing this strategy. King 10 will be a very frequent flop check. I think it can bet. On turn, I think we have a pure value bet, like too much equity to check again here. And on river, after we've B100 at the turn, this river is pretty harmless, and I think most of the villain's range for calling turn is a weaker king. Some of that's king 8, a jack, some of that's jack 8. But most king X and most jack X don't hit 2-pair on the river. Some does. I think 8s probably folds the turn. And 3 bets pre sometimes anyway. And so I think this hand still has enough equity to bet the river here. And this might be a spot where we do use a bunch of the B50. But I think I would probably just stick to these two sizes. I'm going to guess the hand's equity is like still 78, 80%. 87%, that's more than I thought. And range versus range equity, not as bad this time, but still a dog when we get called on the turn. Why does 6-4 never barrel, but 6-7 does? That's a good question. I forget what the board was. Let me see if I can see it on the stream. The queen 10, 3, ace. So that's on, is that on river or is that on turn? These things are usually not a big deal. Let me just say that they're probably like solver noise, blocker noise. They don't matter too much. I'm trying to find a reason for that off the top of my head. And I can't really think of one. It'll be some very obscure blocker thing, like it blocks slightly more folds or whatever, but yeah. Oh yeah, I find my equity estimations are off here as well, Spuds. Gregory says, how many tables do you recommend playing? It depends whether you're playing fast fold or regular, but to start with, if you're playing fast fold, no more than 2. And you want to alternate between 1 table, hyper-focus sessions, training that way, and 2 table, more volume, fast, test yourself to act quickly sessions. As you become more accustomed to playing fast fold, you will increase that to 2 and 3. and then ultimately to 2 and 4, and then maybe one day to 3 and 4. But you definitely want some sessions where you slow down a little bit and take your time and make sure that you're thinking. It's a big trap to just blast out 4 tables of volume when you're still in the infancy of your poker career. Also, get a poker education. You know, like when you've done Carrot Poker School grades 1 and 2 and E, for example, and cash injection, so you've done those 4 courses, you're just going to be able to 3 table, 2 table much more easily than when you don't know the lay of the land, when you don't know what's going on. It is, in fact, the January sale right now at Carrot Corner for all of this month, 25% off everything. Head to that link in the description to check it out after the stream, or now if you can't help but follow commands instantly. Best kind of customers. I don't know for sure how I'm constructing this toolkit here, but what I'm going to be recommending in the course is you just pick the 2 sizes that make the most sense, and I think here it's going to be probably 100 for this hand, and 200 would be my other sizing. Not with this hand, but in general. So let's pull it up. You can sometimes use 3 as well if you really think you do have all 3 hand classes. Like here we do actually just have all 3 hand classes for value. Again, guys, the value hands are driving the bus here. We have hands that are a bit too weak for B100, like King 9. They're losing to some of villains. King X, that's kind of the threshold. You know, if your hand is losing to a bunch of the opponent's top pair, then you're not going to be going pot again. Then if your hand is top pair, you're usually going to be going like pot on a really dry river like this if the turn was dry. Top pair is quite thick here. And then it's really your 2 pair plus range, right? Your King 4, Jack 4, stuff like this that's going B200. Makes sense. And with bluffs, you're just picking a sizing. You'll find there are some pure bluffs here. And that's because this river is, I guess this is a somewhat less unfavorable node. And the blockers of hands like 9-6, 9-7 appear to be very good. Blocking top pair, unblocking most of the folding range. Some of the folding range would be like stuff that contains like a 10, for example. If we have a hand like 10-9, the EV of bluffing is a bit lower. It's still bluffing that hand. What are we giving up here? Queen 10. We actually chop with that sometimes, but that's the sort of stuff we're giving up now. The Queen, the 10, more negative blockers than the lower cards, and a trace of showdown. It's always worth asking if you have a trace of showdown value in these spots, because if you do, this follow through or check node, it's not going to be that favorable. And if you've done Carrot Poker School grade 2, you'll know that that means that there's no like absolutely killing mandatory bluffs here. Well, there are some actually with the very low cards. These blockers are very, very good though. Blocking top pair, unblocking folds. They're very, very good for brick runouts. These low cards is what you want on a brick runout. And the EV swing is kind of meaningful. It's not always with blockers, but sometimes it is. When we complete this course and apply everything you teach, are we able to hold our own against the best of the world in this node? I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. If you have a reasonable level of theoretical knowledge already, because you're going to have the upper hand, at least initially. Let me answer that more cautiously by saying initially, yes, probably not after they like go away and study it and try and react to it. But initially, they will not have seen that before. They'll have no experience with it. They will have good instincts generally, but you'll have studied it. You'll have the complete repertoire. It's like knowing a certain gambit in chess. You can beat a player rated 300 points higher than you, especially if you're rated like 400, right? By playing some offbeat gambit in the opening. And this game tree, you're going to know it like the back of your hand. You know, this node here, you're going to know how to choose your bluffs. You're going to know where your value thresholds are. We're going to get really, really good at that, because I'm going to get really, really good at that now. And then I'm going to build the course really carefully around what I've got good at. That's the idea. And if I'm not ready this week to record that episode, I'll do it next week, right? I want to make sure I'm excellent at this node before I make it for you, so that you're excellent at the node when you take the course. Okay. So we have both. Monkey May I ask on Twitch, is it hand equity or range equity? We actually have both here. We're estimating both. Okay, Jack 9. This is a quite confusing node. So although we've reached here with a pot size turn bet, I generally recommend a half pot size turn bet here in the course. Just the way the drill's set up, we've reached here with this hand. That's okay. In terms of following through river, is 4 flush good for us? I think we do have a decent amount of one spade in that delayed c-bet range. I think we've got a lot of other stuff as well. I think these cards, they don't block jacks with a spade. That's not there. Nines with a spade, probably also 3-bets pre most of the time. So I don't think this really blocks any flushes. And it does block some stuff like jack 6 of diamonds, jack 8 of diamonds, 9-8 of hearts, 9-6 of hearts. So blocker-wise, it doesn't seem like an amazing candidate, but like, well, it does, right? I don't know. I don't know, but this board is so weird. Generally, from my studies, I know that 4 flush is good for the barreler. Is that different in this spot? I don't think so. My instinct is just to bluff here and to use mostly these two sizes. And I've rolled this high number, so I'll just bet this, which is fine, and check is fine. It's just indifferent. Range-wise, this is a favorable node, so 4 flush is really good for us, but the hand is only 0 EV. It's not making money by bluffing. Because if this hand was, you know, a pure bluff, it would be making money by bluffing. And it's not. It's 0 EV, which means that the blockers of this hand are very negative. What hands do make money by bluffing? Because in favorable nodes like this, we have range equity advantage. There are hands that make money by bluffing. What are they? Bigger cards that have like blockers to the broadways, like the ace 10 and stuff that calls turn. The king jack that calls turn. What's villain calling turn with like 2 big cards with 1 spade, right? So you want a bigger card to block the side card than the 9. He's not calling stuff like the king 9 with a spade on turn. It's leading that. Population makes most mistakes, says David Alex after flop check check. Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. And that's why when you play the B200 or check strategy on nutted flops, the flops that allow that, you take them into 2 areas where they make mistakes. Either you go down the road where you check the flop and they make errors, or you bet twice the pot, and that's, you know, who knows what they're doing against that. Okay, so this is one of these non-flush but straight making cards that is really going to favor the button. Button's going to be doing quite well here. Sizing wise, I can see us having all of the sizes here. I can just see value hands of all categories, and Jack 10 offsuit is good enough, I think, to pot it. I don't think it's good enough to overbet. Oh, it is good enough to overbet. I stand corrected. Not enough flushes in villain's range. Okay. Not much EV difference. I always say that whenever the solver disagrees with me. I'm like, yeah, but there's not much EV difference. Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking flush would overbet and Jack 10 would not. But here's the thing about this hand. We don't have a heart, which means that villain is going to have a heart more often with a king or a 9, which means that villain is going to have a bluff catcher that wants to call more often. We actually block the folding range more with these cards. I'm not showing the damn window. Sorry guys, this was the spot in before the chat tells me that I wasn't showing the window, which is imminent. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. They're going to say it any minute now. I do this every time. A new year, same old Pete, same old boomer. So we got here by betting the turn pot, checking the flop, betting the turn for pot, queen of diamonds on the river. I thought this would be just a B100, but it's actually a B200. And then I was pointing out something I realized, which is that we unblock pair plus heart bluff catchers, which drives up our call frequency for a very big bet, because villain wants to bluff. Wants to bluff catch with flush blockers, wants to block flushes, right? So the thing you can take away from this, this is a nugget actually, it's a real thematic nugget to take away, is that with non-heart straights, you can get kind of greedy for value. And it's a bit counterintuitive, right? Maybe with heart straights you can as well. Actually, the heart straights go smaller. Just looked it up. Beautiful concept, right? Unblocking the bluff catcher, Jack of Hearts X hand that calls you and loses. Beautiful. That's the thing about this game, guys. It's just so beautiful sometimes. No, really, I hate this game. No, the truth is somewhere in between. Okay. Next spot. King 5. 7, 6, deuce, 9, 4. The 4 is not going to be that favourable a card for range. It's a low card. That said, it's not going to be terrible either, but this looks like a spot where our default with neutral blockers is give up. Let's just check range equity here. 46, okay, it's not actually that bad, but certainly not a favourable spot. So a lot of hands will give up here. The better blockers will bet. Let's scan King 5 for positive, negative blockers here. So positive, or negative first of all, we don't have a spade. There are some ace-x of spades with big showdown value. King, queen of spades, probably playing check call on turn. 6x of spades, that kind of thing. We don't block any of that. And we block things like pocket fives. The king blocks some sort of king 6, king 7. But we don't block like ace high. Stuff like ace 8 that we really don't want to block here. The ace feels a bit worse. I'm leaning give up with this hand. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. This hand is just unclear to me. What would be worse blocker-wise? Maybe an ace. I think a jack or something would be better. We'd block less folding range with a jack. Less one pair. Less pocket pair with bigger cards. Yeah, I'm going to go with check with this combo. Okay, it's just optional. That's very often going to be the case. And we can... on the flush river. Without the flush blocker, we can go either size, but all 3 sizes are going to be in play here if we look at the sim. Which I'll just pull up to show you. Like all the sizes are in play. So what should my screen name be? I'm going to go on GG soon, and I'm going to update my screen name. What should it be? You can change it once a year. This is going to be my screen name for the next like 361 days or something like that. Can we make it funny? Bonus points if you can find an avatar that goes with it. Bonus points. What do we want our opponents to see when they face us at the poker table? Do we just want to go vanilla? Do we want to go back to characters with the carrot man? Assuming no one's taken that. Or do we want to go for something new? Our last 2 screen names were Obese Beast. A bit less obese now. And Bluffosaurus. Not that I was ever actually obese. I'll just clarify. But I'm definitely lighter now than when I made that name. And Bluffosaurus was like a dinosaur with... Obese Beast was like a big, hideous monster that needed to lose a few kilos, and Bluffosaurus was like a dinosaur with poker chips. Nicola says on Twitch, hey Carrot Corner, when I go to my study group and start talking about blockers, unblockers, and how that affects our strat, the Hungry Horse Goon Disciples, his name is Mark Goon, for the record, guys. Nicola's not calling the Hungry Horse guy a goon. That's literally his name. Well, she is calling him Goon, but only by name. I was talking to Mark once, and I said, I used to think your name was, you were Horse. You were just the Hungry Horse, but it turns out your brand is the Hungry Horse. And he said, well, my wife's already got used to being Goon. Wouldn't be too much of a stretch for her to be Horse, which I thought was quite funny. Anyway, the Hungry Horse Disciples and cult members, we have cult members too, so I won't judge too harshly, start giving me supreme stick. How should I respond? You should say, True. That's what you should say. On a serious note, it depends how and where and why you're using them. You strike me as a good enough poker player to be using them with discretion and saying things like, all else being equal, these blockers are good or bad, and trying to predict that. If, of course, you're playing live or you're playing low stakes, there might be a clear exploit. You might want to play the fully exploitative strategy that Hungry Horse Poker teaches. And I would say that'll get you to a certain point, for sure, and it will improve your results. And I do think that most of the stuff that Mark Goon and his cohort says is right. for playing the games that they're teaching people to beat. Charlie Carroll and then Charlie Carrot, like back to back here for ideas for screen names. Charlie Carroll, that's quite a funny screen name. Just everybody playing back at you all the time, nobody ever folding to you ever again. I don't know if I want that image. I want to be able to try out my new strategy without just getting stationed everywhere, just for fun, you know? Carrot milk. That's a bit weird. Value mumper. I don't know what a mumper is. Is that a rude thing? I don't know. Tubby Terror to keep the obese beast theme going. That's pretty funny. Tubby Terror is pretty funny. Like a blob monster demon thing. Yeah, we could go there. Keep them coming, guys. Keep the screen name suggestions coming. We've only got today to decide. So we better get this one right. We've got 360 odd days of this. All right. So that hand, optional bluff on river. I'd like to understand this spot better, though, rather than just shrugging this off. So, like, where are the mandatory ones? Where are the prohibited ones? In Carrot Poker School, everything is optional, prohibited, mandatory. Anyway, I didn't finish my rant / response to Nicola's question. Like, the fully exploitative, like, they are brain dead, they do X, therefore we do Y thing, it does work. And I've been teaching my students in Coaching Journey Season 3, Race to 25NL, to do a lot of that stuff. But having a deep understanding of a node like this is more like prepping for your poker future. So like what we're doing here, it's not the quickest way to beat 25NL. That's not what we're doing. We're trying to arm you with the repertoire, with understanding that can serve you well for your entire career in a cutting edge offbeat kind of line of the game tree that your opponents aren't used to facing. That's what we're doing. And in this spot, you know, there'll be data in the spot, which we'll present in the course. Is this overfolded, underfolded? Generally, after they call pot on turn delayed c-bet, they're not overfolding river, by the way. There are a lot of nodes like this that are overfolded. This one is not so much. And so blockers do come into it a bit more. But there are nodes that are very overfolded at low stakes. And we'll point that out in the course as well, right? We will tell you when it's just mandatory bluff exploitatively. We will point that out. But we still want you to be able to solve spots anyway, in theory, to understand how it works. So in this spot here, what we want to understand is that all three sizings can be in play. Again, you've got your thresholds where like some overpairs, like kings, for example, is the smaller value bet. And then you have your bigger hands using the bigger sizes. Your two pairs seems to be the island of hands using the pot size bet. And then, of course, like your flushes and stuff going really big. So stick or twist on this. Just reading some of these suggestions for names. Bridge Bandit. Yeah, bit of a giveaway, I think, these days. IRS. Good suggestions here, guys. Keep them coming. Right, so when we're thinking about the bluffs here, what do we notice? Well, King 10 is a good example of a hand that is a pure give up. Our hand was King 5. And the 10 is a more pair abundant card than the 5. So basically in this node, right, when you go for an overbet, let's say, what's going to happen is your opponent's going to continue with lots of hands that beat one pair, and they're going to fold with lots of hands that are one pair. So when you go for that line, you want to unblock as many of those one pairs as possible. But when you have two bigger cards, like a king and a 10, you're in danger of blocking more of the offsuit one pair hands, like king 9 off. They're going to be really abundant. I think that's why the king is not that favored. The 10 is less favored than, say, the 5 or something like that. Although the 3 is like really unfavored here. So sometimes it can be hard to find these patterns. Yeah. I'm not too sure that that's important, but certainly what's important here is like the two big cards being bad because lots of one pair is involved with like big card, medium card, big cards, kind of low card. That's what the one pair hands are. If you look at the folding range, you just want to avoid blocking that twice, want to avoid blocking it really heavily. Ace 10 high. You can see how a 10 blocks that a lot. Jack 9, Queen 9 offsuit, King 9 offsuit. Offsuit's so important, guys. Also in suited. King 7, Queen 7 suited. You can see how abundant the King and the Queen are in the folding range. So perhaps the best way to understand blockers in a spot such as this is to sure understand that, you know, the caveman, I have a spade, it's good. I don't have a spade, it's bad. Sure. But what about the fact that one pair folds a lot to B100 and B200? Even if you B100 the river, one pair is folding a lot more than it's calling across the board. So you can still take that pattern and apply it to B100 as well. Even to B50, you can still make the argument that one pair folds more than a flush folds, right? You can still make that argument. So the more one pair you unblock, the better it is to bluff. And you will block one pair more with a king or a queen, with a card that makes a lot of one pair. So that is our takeaway when we're understanding the theory of this spot. Now, let's link this back to Nicola's question. How useless is it to understand that king, queen, queen, jack, or king, jack with no spade is a quote-unquote give up in this spot? How useful is that to understand? Well, the simple answer is that given that this is not a spot where you have that much of an exploitative leaning, I don't think this spot's particularly overfolded or underfolded. I could be wrong. I don't think it is. I could check the data when I'm making the course. Right away, the blocker thing will just get you making like a higher EV play with the right hand and avoiding a mistake with the wrong hand. With certain hands, the one we were dealt there, King 5 of clubs, does happen to be kind of indifferent, but overall, it will have some EV attached to it. But more importantly, by far, is that you now understand how to navigate, mentally speaking, that spot. So you can say, I just understand that having less blockers to one pair, especially those without spades, is good. The thing about the 8 or something like that is, right, if you have an 8 here or a 5 here, yes, you block 5s, but what I forgot is that 2/3 of the time, the 5s they have, sorry, I should say that sometimes you block a 5, which is a flush draw blocker that's calling you. So like 5 of spades, 5 of clubs, you block here, which might be like not the worst thing to block. I don't know. But because the 9 of spades is on board, without having the king of spades, you can't block a spade hand when you block a 9. You have like queen of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, you don't block a spade hand, right? So that's kind of interesting. They can't have king of diamonds, 9 of spades, so 9 of spades is on board, effectively. I'm getting a bit meta now. I'm getting a bit like lost in the weeds of this. But I think getting good at these skills that we're doing right now makes you a really good poker player, because it gives you a deep, deep understanding of a spot that you can fall back on. You don't want to be guessing exploitatively when you don't know, or when it's unclear, or when it's close. You just want a clear heuristic that you can fall back on that represents a deep understanding of the spot. So I do think it's important. If you're playing live and you're against like a certain player type that you just know one play is better against, like, sure, take that play. Of course. We don't have to follow everything. Like, we don't have to take all of these heuristics and just apply them blindly, but having the option of applying them is great. I'm not teaching beginners here, right? Not at all. I'm teaching serious players that are already kind of competent. Modern Master Plan assumes that you have at least the ability of, like, you've done grade 1, you're on grade 2 carrot poker skill, minimum. Doyle, I'm going to reject that suggestion on Twitch. The Twitch chat's quite hilarious right now, actually. Beta carotene cult. Yeah, we'll not go with that either. I see what you did there, Nicola. Okay, this hand with rivered bottom pair, once again, you might think like, oh, this is a bit of a a showdown value hand, but is it? How are you winning here? 3x of diamonds? What's that, like 4-3 of diamonds? Something like that didn't check raise you? Maybe there's a smidgen of equity. That was actually quite a lot. 4%. Why am I saying 4% is a lot of equity? Because it is, right? If bluffing was break even, 4% equity is pretty good. The flush river, not good for range, therefore check, right? You have some equity in a spot that's bad for range, you're going to be checking. Speed this up a little bit now, try and get some more patterns down. King 10. On the Jack of Clubs river, we have to decide whether this hand is high enough equity to bet. What do you guys think the equity is of this hand? With B100 at the turn after flop went check, check. I think this hand has... There's quite a big favourite on the turn. River, a few flushes got there. There's not that many. A jack being hit in any other way is Jack 6 of spades and clubs. And Jack 6 of hearts, Jack 6 of spades, stuff like that. Jack 10. And we have the King of Clubs, which reduces the combos of flushes in villain's range a bit. Not massively in this node, I don't think, but a bit. So equity-wise, I feel like we have something in the 70s maybe. High 70s. Let's see. 72, not as much as I thought. 73. Okay, so with 73%, it's either going to be a B50 or a check. And I don't know, the solver might get all nitty here and be like, I don't want to reopen, blah, 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 blah. Sup, lamb? How's it going? Or the solver might go for thin value with this much equity. It's close. Against the human, I'm a fan of thin value. I really don't think they have many flushes in this node. I think they're very bad at playing check call with any flushes. So against the human, I can tell you right now, I'm just going to bet here. It doesn't. Goes with the check. But that's because 73% equity against the solver, it doesn't want to enter that node where the solver is really good at finding check raises, bluffs, that kind of thing. And I can see why it is thin, especially when your opponent's reopening enough with aggression. But against the human, I think your equity is higher, firstly, because I don't think they take enough flush draws and pair plus flush draw into a check call line on the turn. If they're a fish, they'll lead the river with a flush sometimes, and most importantly, they're not going to play that much check raise on the river. They're not going to put you in the grinder like that. So I think you can swing this to bet against the human, but check against the solver. We have a straight. This is a very big hand. Not a ton of flushes check calling, and we unblock the club. We saw this pattern before. That hands like... There aren't that many opposite hands, but let's say like... pocket eights with a club. I guess we do block one of the combos of that. But it's a bad example because it's 7 and 6 of both clubs. But if like that 9 was somewhere earlier right on the board and they could get here with 10-9, the 10 of diamonds would be good for value betting big because it would unblock 10 of clubs, 9 of spades. So we saw that pattern before. So this hand's equity, I'm guessing this comes in the 90s? 92? How much flush does villain check call the turn with? Really not that much, right? A lot of it's leading or check raising. 92? 91, okay, not bad. Range versus range equity. Let's guess this as well, guys. Let's play a 3-pronged guessing game. I think this river is actually quite good for range because we have hands like this, these gutters that villain doesn't have. I think the 9 river is okay. It does miss a lot of our overcards, but it hits some of them. I'm gonna guess it's like 50%, 51, 58. Wow, it's way better than I thought. Way better than I thought. Okay, so mandatory bluff spot for lots of low showdown value hands then in that case. Good to understand that. The 9 is way better than I thought, guys. There's a lot of 9 actually bluffing turn now I think about it. King 9, Queen 9, Jack 9, 10 9. Lots of these combos. 9x of clubs. Okay. Let's go for... either of these I think is fine. Yeah, mostly this one though. Just laughing at some of these name suggestions, guys. What solver are you using? Pio solver. When are we getting Sam back to guess what he's holding? Whenever Sam wants. Sam can just say, come on the stream, we can play what am I holding. Yeah, we can run the Who Wants to Be a Millionaire soundtrack as we do it. Just like old times. And just like last January, it is the Carrot Corner January sale currently. We are going right now for the rest of the month at 25% off site-wide. Next spot, Queen 9. This has got to be too thin, guys, right, on the Diamond River. I think this hand has, like... It was already losing to some Queen X. It was already losing to some two-pair that check call turn. I believe that's a thing against pot. And on the Diamond River, it's probably... dropping again further. Is this... It's in the 70s, right? In terms of equity. Low 70s, maybe? 71? That looks very weird without, like, the applause sound effects that the editor would have put in. Let's see that again. Yeah, pretty weird. Okay. 71's going to check then, right? Because we're terrified of the solver and it's very thin anyway. 71 just ain't enough in position. Out of position, you block that shit all day, by the way. But in position, you're just not going to be betting that much equity. It's not a thing. Oh, favorability, range versus range. I think unfavorable. Slightly. Oh, very unfavorable. Okay, flush cards suck for us, apparently. They're like very, very bad for us. Don't know what to us 36 says. Also, 2004 grinder here. Been trying to figure this out for about 6 months now. Damn near full time. I'm normally really good at recognizing patterns, but I'm not seeing it. Yeah, you just talk about like bluff selection or what aspect of GTO, because like some things are easy, like value hands with more equity, bet bigger, for example, right? Bluff selection, it's based on some very finicky blocker patterns. Not so easy. Like this spot, not so easy at all. Like what do you want to unblock here? You probably don't want to have like a 9 in your hand, would be my guess, when you're bluffing. Let's pull this up though. You don't want to block like Jack 9, Queen 9. Like what are the weakest hands in villain's range? Well, those hands I mentioned are actually like value hands, but let's say like King 9. Yeah, so King 9 pure gives up here. So that pattern is based on what's his bad stuff. Well, it's not a flush, two pair or straight. So what's he folding? He's got to be folding some percent of stuff. So it's going to be like King 10 he's folding, or it's going to be like a pair. And therefore, if you have a hand like King 10 yourself, you have very negative blockers here and you should give up. So that's the pattern. But it's difficult, right? You'll have a cup of tea, mate, yeah? All right. I don't know if that means you want to come on the show after your cup of tea or when you've made it. I don't know what that means, but you've got my WhatsApp. You've got my WhatsApp, mate, yeah. Love the content, by the way. Thank you very much. Show us if the solver called you. Did I not? Does it not show? I think it shows, does it not? Results oriented about the solver. God, guys, what's it coming to? Right. So solver had Queen Jack, guys. So we saved a bunch of money. As I told you, there was some two pair playing that way. Your equity is always higher on this node with a value hand against the human, by the way. And the fold equity is like kind of decent as well, but like not great because they've already called B100. It depends on river though. But I would say that your equity on this node is always higher with a made hand against the human. It's a good rule of thumb. Okay, so we get one of these bricky boards now. And again, we didn't need a lot of equity to bet turn. Our hand can our hand win here or chop? Very rarely. Like, can villain have Queen Jack of Hearts and check call the turn? It feels like they would check raise or bet mostly, right? And they have like Ace 4 of Hearts, maybe. So we have like a tiny smidgen maybe of equity with this hand. Yeah. 1.78%. Favorability wise, the 5 is not a bad card for us. I don't think they have a ton of 7-8 playing this way at all, if any. We do. And some of our bluffs hit a 5, which bails them out and boosts their equity slightly. It's a fairly neutral run out, I would say. 48? 42. Okay, brick run out's less good than I thought on this board. Therefore, check. Oh, but small bet's okay too as a bluff. Small bits, okay. I mean, the EV difference isn't big between the sizes. I wouldn't worry too much about that. What do we, let's go like broad brush. I'm not showing the right window once again. It's hard for me to remember, guys. You have to tell me to switch back. You have to tell me. The spot, we had 1.78% equity with hand. Oh, sorry, this is no longer right. It was showing up as 42% equity range versus hand. It's going range versus range. It's now showing range versus villain's hand for some reason is 15% our range against his hand. And we had a give up our small bet with ace 3 here. But what I want to ask is, like, what are the, again, thinking about bluffing, working on that for today. What do we want to have here? What do we not want to have? Well, we want to block a king. That's the foundation of villain's river calling range. And we do not want to block a heart or some kind of... I feel like the 10 and the jack in these spots are bad cards. I feel like they're bad cards. Because they don't have a ton of like really big king. They 3-bet pre or they lead turn with that. And they block some folds because the villain wants to fold these because we bluff with them sometimes. I don't know, something like that. I feel like the 10 and the jack are like the cards we don't want to have. Yeah, so giving up queen jack for a bit of showdown, jack 10 for a bit of showdown, bluffing when we have a low card. Same pattern. I think I'm getting this, guys. Queen 7, queen 8, just bluffing all these hands instead. I think I'm getting this pattern. It's not too bad. I fixed it, guys. Sorry about showing the power range. What resources do you suggest I utilize to learn all the GTO patterns? Should I get a class you offer to pay for lessons? I wouldn't pay for coaching for that. I mean, I think there's more efficient ways of doing it. Carrot Poker School is the thing I would recommend. Like the full Carrot Poker School, if not the Golden Carrot, which contains Weapons of War and Cash Injection as well, which are two sort of exploitative courses. But the Carrot Poker School teaches the laws of physics of the game, as I like to say, the sort of ins and outs of the games, the whys, if, and buts, the objective truth behind how EV functions in cash game poker. And if you understand how EV behaves, the factors that affect it, you're going to be able to just grasp the game on a kind of intuitive level. And then a lot of these patterns will be obvious. Like, why am I able to predict like that Queen Jack will give up the river here? It's just because it doesn't block that much value and it does block more folds, essentially. So if you look at like villain's reaction to a B100, which is a common line in this spot. By the way, we have very little nuts here. Not that our nuts are small, but we don't have many of them. Like we have less than 2, because we don't really check sets on the flop very often, right? And we don't make much new nutted stuff apart from maybe like king 6 suited, king 5. We don't have the offsuit 2 pair that you hit because these are low cards. So if you look at playing against B100 here, villain is going to be folding a lot of these like pair plus offsuit medium card. Like offsuit cards that are bad are not 3s or 5s because they don't exist in offsuit combos. A very useful pattern for you, don't know what to us 36, is that if offsuit cards are either 1 pair or busted straight draws on the river and you're going big, they're meant to fold a lot, and then you don't want to have one of those cards yourself because you want villain to have as many of those offsuit combinatorically abundant things as possible, right? And the way to cause villain blocker wise to have more of those is to have like a 4 in your hand or something. So when we switch back to this node, this is why the queen 4 is always bluffing. I remember to switch back, right? We're going to drill this for another 5 minutes or so because this drill's getting a bit long. Ace 9, first question. Do we have any showdown here? I think the answer is a tiny bit. Ace 8 of diamonds, stuff like this. Yeah, I think so. Not much. Favorability of node. If this was the other way around and the 4 was on the turn, the 10 on the river, it's going to be very good for us. I think this hand has like 4% equity, and I think the node is neutral to like not that bad actually, because the 10 turn is very good for us. I know that gets eroded somewhat when villain calls. Maybe it's slightly unfavorable, like 45%. 38, worse than that. So heavily unfavorable to Brick River here. I guess the 4 straights are just really favourable. The bricks are just really unfavourable. That's the pattern I've got to get my head around. Here's Starmer Fan. How do you get access to the Carrot Poker School Discord? You need to get grade 1 of the Carrot Poker School or equivalent in value from carrotcorner.com. Currently, it's 25% off for the January sale. This is a good time to invest in a completely comprehensive poker education. Well, the start of the year is always a good time. You can sort of capitalize on that higher motivation to study. You've got to study, guys. You can't just like swan in and fire up a session every time you sit at your desk. It's not going to work. You've got to find a way to study. Ace 9 does have 4%. I was right. It's important to celebrate your wins in the solver because we're just wrong so often, right, when we drill stuff. So we should check. Okay. Getting better, guys. Jack 9, brick run out, brick river. We have a club, that's not good. We have dangler cards that go with the 10. That's not good. We don't block that much ace X because ace jack 3 bets free sometimes. We do block ace 9. I think as a negative blocker hand, a brick river, an unfavorable world, and a give up. Next. Get out of here. That my son does when he's like, he doesn't want you to give him anything. Like when he just wants like no more input. Or he wants something really specific. Like he's decided he wants bread. Loves bread. Only bread. And like you try giving him like some meat. Here, have some ribeye steak. And he's like, try give him his water bottle. Does this with its hands. Thank you for everything you're doing. No problem, man. We need to pick our GG poker name though. We've still not picked the name. Roughage in your guts suggests style. Votes for that one. Carotene after dark. Raw roughage value. You guys are really going with the roughage theme. Yeah. Really going with the roughage theme here. I got a WhatsApp message from Sam. He says, can't stream, mate. Sorry. Doing some work in it. It's a shame. Anyway, this one. So to understand this one, turn was favourable, river was unfavourable. It's a brick, so we got 40%, right? We know this now, don't we, pile solver? Yes, good. Hand has nothing at all. But that doesn't mean it's a bluff in this sort of world. We rolled a 90, so if it's a mix, we should check this time for balance reasons. Ooh, balance reasons. Oh, no. See, balance is not the same thing as caring about blockers. Some people are like, why do you care about blockers? Doesn't matter to be balanced. It's like, no. Blockers aren't to do with balance. They're to do with EV. Just not much EV, right? They're like mini gusts of wind. They're like a gentle breeze. Whereas like your opponent being a stupid whale is a hurricane. Make sense? I capito. So with this hand, how much of the weird dangler stuff do we block? Same question. Well, we block Queen 9, King 9, 9s, 10-9. What's? This is a horrible hand. I'd rather just have a 4. Just give me a 4 in my hand. And I will bluff. Oh, this one does go giant sometimes. I was wrong. Why does it go giant sometimes? What are the pure give-ups? Let's look at it, guys, because I didn't understand something here. Okay, so the pure bluff is like the ace 3, so that makes sense, right? That's much better unblocker-wise. So we're onto the right path there. We don't have that many pure give-ups in this node. It's not actually that unfavorable a node. Let's see. What would be the give-ups? You guys see give-ups that have nothing? Ace X has a little tiny bit of showdown, so I don't want to say that's a give up. I mean, it is, but it's kind of like I'll settle for a tiny piece, you know, beating the ace deuce of hearts or something, you know. Other than that, not really anything, but the pure bluffs, the ones that are really making money, are like Jack 7. So the Jack is better. How many straights does villain have here? A significant amount of straights. They have Jack 9 offsuit. That's quite a lot of combos of straight. So the Jack is important for that reason. Also, villain's going to call a Jack a decent clip because it blocks your straights. So going really big with the Jack makes sense. Playing a lot of B200 here also makes sense because you have a big nut advantage. You have way more straights. And bluffing your own Jack. It all revolves around the Jack here, basically. Can't find any pure give-ups that have no showdown value at all. The 3 has, like, loves the 3 blocker. Like, loves that card. Using high numbers for passive actions is absolute savagery. See, I used to be on that side of the fence as well. But I switched. I flip-flopped. I'm now a low as aggro guy. Clanty did that to me, I think. It was Clanty's fault. I've done a lot of bullying in my lifetime. Clanty's fault. Okay, guys, I'm going to make a coffee, and then we're going to create our GG poker name. While I'm away, I would like you to put your final suggestions in. I'm not saying I'm going to go with any of the names you've come up with, and I might have a little think when I'm making coffee about what the name could be. So we'll chill there. Going to give you this picture of an orange wall and chair to look at. And I'll be back in, I don't know. Depends whether I make a real coffee or an instant coffee. Maybe I'll just make an instant coffee. Maybe I'll just be like 5 minutes. Okay, we'll do it that way, guys. Let's close down Pile Solver for now. That was a tough workout session, wasn't it? It was a rough drill. I mean, I found that hard. I find this node very hard though, which is why I'm training it so much before I make the episode. I feel like I'm way more equipped to make this episode, but I still want to train a bit more. Probably do it again tomorrow. Just get really good at that. And the thing is with that node, guys, like, if we get good at check, bet lines, like we know what to bluff, what our value thresholds are, what sizing is, we'll also get good at other, like, continuous aggression lines, like triple barrel or raise, bet, and stuff as well. But that node's a good one for our course because we are going to be in that node a lot. Remember, we check back the flop like 70% of the time on those textures, and then we bet the turn a decent amount of the time. We do get called sometimes. So we're on that node a non-trivial amount of the time, for sure. You always want to train the nodes that you get to the most. I also need an avatar, by the way, guys. So I've gone to my image generator, and we will generate an avatar. I'm going to generate a disgusting, obese, blob monster thing in case we do decide to go with Tubby Terror, which was quite funny by Spuds, or something like that. I want to keep going for this theme. I'll show you what those look like after the break. Wow, look at these guys. Look at the avatars for Tubby Terror. Wait till I show you this. Wait till I show you these. Wow, oh wow. It's the best way to show you this. Okay. Let's just do it this way. So I typed in a disgusting, obese blob monster thing. What do you think then? So if we're gonna go for Tubby Terror, I mean, I don't think that's Tubby Terror. I think that's like some disgusting blob. Why don't we make one of those our avatar? Not the carrot men below, I was just messing about. Sometimes I just generate carrot men. 1, 2, 3, or 4. And then what would it be called? Like, if one of those was our avatar, what would our screen name be? That's my question to you. And while we await the answer, I'll go down a different road. I think this is how we do it. We're going to generate the avatar first and come up with screen names for the avatar. That's how we're going to rebrand ourselves on GG Poker, guys. That's how we're going to do it. So the question is, what are they called? What number do you want and what are you going to name it? And while we're doing that, I'll type in a new prompt. A very tall, very skinny, ugly monster thing. Again, we want to be grotesque, right? That's the theme. We want a grotesque avatar with a grotesque name. We don't just want to be like Fluffy Rabbit. We want to be offensive in the, not offensive in like a way that'll get us banned, but in a way that'll like be disturbing to our competitors, you know? We want to disturb them. We're already trying to unsettle them with the line that we're taking, with a B200 check node. These things aren't as horrific, these skinny monsters. They're not really as scary. They all have their heads cut off as well. Like, what is that all about? This second one is pretty grim. Shambling old man, like, kind of vibes. What about a really old guy? A guy that... An ancient... Decrepit. Is that how you spell decrepit? Maybe. Man with rotten skin and... I don't know. Mold on his face. Trying to get really gross now. Let's try like going like so... It's so obese it's gross, it's so skinny it's gross, or it's so old it's gross. This is the line we're going for here. No, that's like some wizard. This is just going to give us a bunch of badass... That's pretty gross. That's pretty horrible. Oh yeah, that's pretty awful. Okay, so we could name one of those. Be like an ancient man. So ancient, he's disgusting. I don't think the skinny ones really worked. I think it has to be like the old ones or the big fat blobs. Right? What do you guys think? Blobs? Fat ones? Skinny ones? I want your input here. Let's see what we're saying. Image number 3, EV Eater. That's pretty cool. Image number 3 has a lot of different mouths and eyes on its blob body / face. There's the term in finance, carrot equity. Yeah, finance is boring though. Yeah, the last one is seriously grim, right? Number 4, bottom right of your screens. That is so... That is disgusting. Like, that's really bad. That's the grossest one by far, man. Yeah, that's bad. Turd blob. What about just turd blob? Just crude and simple. DTYT says, Pete, you've talked about TFT a lot in the past. Have you played or heard of Riftbound? It's my first TCG and obsessed to the point of pausing a poker session to play a few matches online. I've not. What is that? Do you mean like trading card game? Is that what TCG is? Because like TFT is an auto battler, right? So it's not really the same. I did used to play Hearthstone though. Is it big? What is Riftbound, guys? Can anyone else recommend that to me? I got back into Elden Ring recently, so I've been playing that a bit. Those avatars are going to be barely visible on GG. Worst toilet in Scotland? I think that's one of the best ones, Sharpie Hop, actually. You've clearly never been here. You should be called Carrot Lord and have an avatar that portrays as such. I just don't understand this monster theme. Fair enough. I really don't. The Mucus Muck. Or just Mucus Muck. I love that. Mucus Muck. Gross value. An ancient man, Pete Clark. Oh, it's all relative, Spuds. I'll accept it from you only because I've seen you in the flesh and you're like 9 or something. I'll let you away with it. So no one's going with the ancient men then, no? We're just going for the blobs. What's Twitch saying about the matter? They're still just talking about carotene. I see. Twitch is saying nothing useful. The prompt is disturbing to the incels. Your opponents mostly are. Is that the voice I do? When I do that, like... he said that blockers mattered. Is that what that is? Septic tank hole cards. Mucus Muck's quite funny. Because it's got a poker theme, it's got alliteration. Do you think we could make the big turd thing our avatar? I think what we need to do with it though is we need to download the big turd blob thing. We need to remove the background and put it on a better background where it'll really stand out. And then go from there basically, right? So I'm going to actually remove the background. And we'll go to a new window where we'll build this thing. Yeah, let's build this thing, guys. Custom size. We don't want it to be very big because it's actually meant to be 200 by 200 on GG. So maybe we'll make an image that is 200 by 200. Maybe the resolution of the blob will be terrible though if we do that. Let's see. Uploads. Blob. Oh yeah, it's way too blurry at 200 by 200. Okay. Maybe I make it a bit bigger then. This is what you tuned in for today, guys, right? By the way, it's 25% off at Carrot Corner right now. So you'd actually rather still be studying because you only here for the studying. 25% off all of our courses and bundles. Just saying. Just saying. Okay. So this is the Shutterstock generator thingy that I use a lot. And it's 200 by 200, which makes the blob not look very good. I'm a bit of a boomer. I think we need to change the canvas to 400 by 400 maybe. And then let's see what the blob looks like then. Yeah, that's much better, right? And then if we remove the background of the blob, there we go. Now we need to make a background for said blob. So let's ask for, what color would be good? Like an orange background? Like still go kind of carrot man? Because black, I don't think it'll stand out. I think it'll stand out on like orange. Or red, like a bright red. Nah, I think orange to go with the carrot theme. A bright orange backdrop. Plain backdrop. Otherwise it puts random shit, like oranges, on the picture, which we don't really want. Then we're going to play some poker with our new name and avatar. We're going to take it for a spin. Oh, look how bright that is. What do you think? This one? Think that'll stand out? I think maybe this one. Let's download this bad boy and see what that looks like. And then go back over to Mucus Muck. And then make him bigger. Or do we just want like no background? So he just shows up in the circle. Maybe that's what we want. Maybe we want to remove the background altogether. Like the background of the picture. Like this. And then he just shows up in the avatar. I think that's what we want to do, guys. And he just looks like that. Yeah, man. Maybe stretch them a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what we want to do. Okay, so let's actually try that on GG then. None of you secured Mucus Muck before me. That's a shame. Because you could have screwed me over there, guys, if you were thinking. Oh, we need to get this as a PNG, right? Otherwise it doesn't show properly. Custom, add image. Yeah. It's quite funny. It seems to have a white background, but I think it's okay. All right, I think we're good to go, guys. Thank you for helping me with that decision. Now, let us grab a couple of things here to play some poker. First off, an RNG. Not that we use it that often, but it's good to be able to just outsource the problem sometimes when we're truly indifferent. Don't try this at home, kids. And then we're going to need a couple of tables. I'm going to show you what this looks like in just a second, this avatar. Because it is good to go now. Carrot corner, 2 tables. I'm going to go full screen while I just set this up. And then if I jump back, it should automatically detect the 2 tables, I hope. You should use a friendly and professional looking carrot, says Mathematical. Maybe, yeah, but I don't really use GG Poker to like, I'm not really trying to advertise when I play on there. I'm trying to just be silly. Jabba the Jobby for the fat image. Yeah, maybe. Mr. Chair says, we just went to get some food and came back. What's going on? We're building an avatar. We've built Mucus Muck, who is our protagonist for 2026 on GG Poker. Right, let's play 2 tables of 100 Russian cash. Let's buy in for some cash dollars as well, because we have 30 of them apparently. Don't tell me that Mucus has 2 C's, by the way. It doesn't, right? So I only spelled it with one C. It better not have two C's. I reckon it. I think it's pretty funny. I think we've done a good job here. Okay, got our two tables, which I will show you momentarily. Just tile these. Are you going to play on GG after all this faffing about? It's not faffing about, Dial. It's very important. This is our whole alias for the next year on GG Poker. This is not mere faffing. Close Pyro before opening GG. Thank you for looking out for me. I have. Okay. Why do we have 3 tables open? It's weird. All right, let's try then. Oh, it's still showing the lobby. All right, fix that. I think Mucus only has 1C. Pretty sure it does, like 85% sure it does. Is that the right table? Yes. Yes. And let's get this RNG up here as well. Okay, sorted. Finally, the cards are about to be in the air. Deal me in. Let's see what this pool looks like. It's been a while, guys. It's been a while. What am I playing in the small blind these days? 2.5, right? We are playing really big on this board, or check. Going to check on most rolls with King 10 here. Playing high check frequency here as well. On nutted flops, I'm going to extend this strategy to this spot as well. Favor betting here, I don't think they attack enough in this spot. I do think there's many, many natural calls, so even though this is a mix, in theory, I'd rather just bet. Gonna check here. 8-second go either way. Can fold, call. Doesn't really matter. Bully in the past. That's quite funny. Just like build it around the Luke Johnson skit. Half pot here. Very hard to bluff enough in this node. At this point. Like, after you call pot and turn, you've got to be turning all of your 8 into a bluff, like some of your other bigger pairs as well. So half pot's very overbluffed on river normally, but I think in that line it's not. I think it's underbluffed. A lot of Jack X. So the bigger the value range, the harder it is to have air. I need to fix this so that the background is actually translucent. See how this guy up here has like just the avatar and no background. I want to have just the blob guy with no circle around it. That's what I'd like to do. It's still kind of funny though, right? Like before the cards come down there, it's still pretty funny. Right, let's focus. You can change your GG name once per year in the first week of the year. This was the final day that we were able to change it. So we did. So this stack's going to shove. This is like a break-even open, but there's someone loose in position and this stack's going to shove sometimes. So I think a minus EV proposition with King 8 there. Hitting the long streams this year. Yeah, I'm going to go on a bit longer with the streams. There's going to be a lot more content in general this year, Spuds. I'm really cutting back on coaching big time. So it's going to be just mostly playing poker on stream, studying on stream, building the course, marketing, just like trying to sell the catalog. You know, just looking after the business rather than like one-to-ones is very good hourly wise, right? And it's very tempting to do lots of one-to-ones, but it actually has a very bad effect on the business in a way. Because although the sort of short-term cash grab of doing a lot of coaching feels good, like the sort of dopamine hit of that, the I actually feel so indifferent with this hand, I don't care. I just outsource it. Jack 9 is interesting against the recreational. Small 3-bet, I don't think so. Call, maybe. Fold, maybe. Brazilian behind me, I think I'll fold. If I had someone else behind me, I would call. It's also a bit short, so I think those two things make it a fold. Very clear 3-bet here with ace queen. You just want to be isolating 39 VPIP short stack player. I could have 3-bet a bit smaller there as well at that stack depth, but no big deal. 5-8-4. My toolkit on this board is like half pot check. At this SBR, I think the hand makes a very clear check actually. I think reopening with this much equity is a bit of a shame. Like they are going to be playing shove quite a bit here. And we do have the best hand here sometimes. We're very likely to face river as well. We may chop with bluffs. We may lose to ace king randomly. Offsuit lower cards are not that abundant. The 10 hits, I think, a pretty clear fold. The avatar's haunting, yeah. I like it. That's what we're going for. I think we've done a good job. I think we've achieved what we wanted to achieve. We've got the theme, got the synergy between the avatar and the name. And I think we've basically nailed it. Again, like marginal hand with weaker player in position, it's just not that ideal if he's in the big blind. It's just pure open. These are the things you want to assess. So let's see if we can get into a few spots to try out some toolkits here. I've got some ideas about 3-bet pot toolkits, by the way. If Modern Master Plan sells really well, and I hope it does, obviously, then I will make a version for 3-bet pots also. Deuce 9-3, I'm going to be playing one big blind or check. I'm not going to be range betting this spot. I'm going to check ace king on this roll, and turn is interesting. I think check call does fine here, especially even without a diamond. Now, I think the main thing that happens on this node is that people don't call enough ace high, but they do overbluff. So I think check call against a random human at 100 NL way overperforms, whereas block for value underperforms. So we're always taking this line. In theory, I think our hand is strong enough to value bet, but this is the kind of spot that you want to have the theory understanding. Carrot Poker School will get you that 25% off in January, guys. And then you want to make the exploit of picking the pure line, which is definitely to give them the third chance to bet. That spot is grossly overbluffed because they take far too much air to the river, meaning they don't bluff enough earlier with nothing in position, even though they can. And then they can't show it down. They're like, I can't win, so I can't check. And that's not true in unfavorable landscapes, actually. You do need to settle for 0 EV sometimes, and you do need to check a lot of your air, and they don't get that below a certain stake. And that's why these passive lines can do very, very well. Brazilian in the big blind, not the sort of spot where opening that hand is mandatory. You could pass on it, and then just strengthen your opening range a little bit. This is 100 Russian cash Genghis on Twitch. Just to answer your question. Very indifferent here. With 5-4. Again, if this weaker player is in the big blind, I'm no longer indifferent. I'm just opening the hand. A6 will perform horrendously 4-way. Like, I'm not even taking a flop with that. I'll save the one big blind. And if you like this kind of content, I can do long form streams like this. I actually recorded a 55-minute live play video where I just chilled out, get some music going and chatted. I recorded that before Christmas. The editor's working on it next week, I think. Or the week after, so we'll get that out for you as well. Anti-GTO is funny because that's not a thing. There's no strategy that's anti-GTO because GTO is unexploitable. That was somebody's name, by the way. I think they know what's going on. How many hands have you played at 100 NL on GG? Something like 70,000, I think. Is it that much? Maybe it's 60-something thousand. Not much, basically. Not putting a lot of volume. Let's cold call because we have a couple of weak players behind, and this is a position where it's kind of okay anyway. Like, it is probably slightly losing equilibrium. I think these two players make it winning. Not massively winning, but winning. If this goes check, check, I'm assuming this player will not check range to me here with the fish in the pot. I don't think they'll be able to resist betting a lot of the time. Gonna take this button open with the 5 deuce. It's just outside normally, but again, recreational in the big blind, skill edge. And you can go either way here, but there's a few things I think will happen if I bet small. I'm going to intentionally bet very small. The first is I don't think this player is going to do any real stuff, like check raise or anything like that with the player behind. The second is I don't think this player's checked range that frequently and will have a more capped, weaker range. And the third thing is that like multi-way protection is just really important anyway. I can also get called by worse. They do go for check raise here. I'm just going to fold. I've got a player behind me. This is not that natural a spot to aggress in for this player. It's possible that my giant turd avatar tilted them into betting. But I think just taking the denial, the protection denial in that spot. Oh, the 5, man. Why do I hit the rabbit? I think it's the right play. I don't think we're indifferent there. If they were properly protected on flop or the small blind was doing enough check raising, we would be indifferent. But with neither of those things being true, I don't think we're indifferent. I think betting has a higher EV than checking. 5-3, I'm going to bet this a decent amount of the time. Against the recreational, I'm just going to pot it. Against this stack, I'm not actually going to go for the... Do I want to go bet, check, bet here, or do I want to go bet? Do I want the information first of bet, check, bet? It does call flop very quickly. I think I'm going to just check 0 equity here against a short stack, high VPIP, snap acting player with a really uncapped range, and just see if they check the river quickly, then consider bet, check, bet, bluff if they do. Raise is probably just losing here, honestly. Did this guy just get 7-4 in on the flop? 57 VPIP? Okay. You like to see it with pink tag for that. This is my first time tuning in. Thank you for the stream. You're welcome, Genghis. Great to have you here. I have a duck called Genghis, by the way. I also have a duck called Angus, Agnes, Magnus, and Maggie. And Caesar. And Pingu, but Pingu's got like some kind of deformity and isn't very well. I think I need to get the vet out, which is never good news for ducks. We have ducks. Yeah. Can you believe it? A poker player with ducks, goats, chickens, a child, a wife. Can you believe it, guys? I don't live in a basement. I've seen the sunlight. I know it's weird. How does being Brazilian affect your play? Just don't take the bottom of your range into like a skirmish, basically. Just be a little bit sturdier. Avoid the 0 EV stuff that prints against fish. Brazilians are very aggressive. They're all taught by Saulo Costa, and Saulo Costa is very aggressive, so that's kind of all you need to know. Gonna pass on this with the weaker players being in position. V-pipping a lot in position to me is not really what I want. So here we'll get 3-bet, right? Because it's a Brazilian, and we'll 4-bet. This is a 1 big blind or check spot. I'm going to pure bet here because I want to be in the aggressive node with ace king against the Brazilian. I want to get check raised all the time. Okay, I'm taking this to the extreme, right? It's not quite as extreme a read as I'm making out. So recreational in the small blind goes 5.8. This is a very bad hand though, but I still just think against the sizing it's a little bit too good to fold. I think we just have to take a flop. I'm going to fold on flop though because my hand is just drawing too badly on this board. A 9 high flop is good, an ace high flop is good. I don't know, there's some reverse implied. You could convince me that folding pre is right there. If it was a bit bigger, if he'd gone a 660 or something, I'd have folded pre. I don't know. Rabbit hunting shouldn't be free, no. No, it should be free, because then the fish will spend all their money rabbit hunting and we'll not be able to take as much money from them. It clearly should be free. Or it shouldn't be an option at all. We shouldn't be charging them to do it, then they just go broke faster. That would be a scumbag move, in fact, on the part of the site. Interesting note here. I'm going to 3-bet because I want this player to myself. I could just flat though. I probably should just flat. But going down the squeeze line isn't fantastic. And I'm going to bet this size. Something that looks slightly bigger than it is with his hand. I don't really have a good path forward by checking here against the recreational. Check raise puts us in a situation where we can face jam, we under realize. Bet puts us in a situation where like it's just better, basically. Gets the recreational in the way they play. Check fold, I don't love. Check call, meh. Check raise, meh. Bet's probably the best, the lesser of the evils there. Take that off under the gun, I just need like a reason to open. Something that boosts EV. You want to always be on the lookout for your EV going up or down. Like here, your EV is sky high with threes. Like you've got this guy in the big blind, just always flat here, and you always notice that as well. Very important to notice that. I play range one big blind here. You have to do a lot of continue after this. Jack 9 is in a sort of no man's land though. When it's clubs. It's probably a fold. Well, it is a fold. Do we want to start bluffing here? How likely is this player to check range? Again, I don't feel like he's all that likely to. But we do have this uncapped fish range here. I think I'll check this one on this board. It's not as favourable a board. We're not getting it through as often here. Less favourable the board is, the more like there's stuff they can call. The more I'm just going to favour more transparency line, bluff later. And then on those like low bricky boards, three-way, I'll do a bit more stabbing. Easy fold. I don't think you do want to get Ducks Genghis. They're a bit like ungrateful as animals go. They don't ever like you. They kind of hate you, in fact. And they don't give a shit about the fact that you look after them and you provide them with shelter and food and all of this stuff and water and a pond. Yeah, we have a pond in our garden. They don't care about that shit. They just hate you anyway. And none of them have taken the Carrot Poker School, even though I've been saying it's a complete rigorous poker education and that it's 25% off in the January sale, but none of them have done it. APFI free rabbits. Yeah. Agreed. I'm going to do a little bit of 3-bet, and this is the time, guys. We're going to 3-bet here. Wife is the least believable part. Yeah, that's fair. What about seeing light? That's also pretty unbelievable for poker player, no? This is our one big blind strategy. So the boards we're all getting here are what we call unnutted boards. They're one big blind with range situations. There are 3 types of boards, basically. One big blind with range, one big blind split, which is like monotone or something like that. This range check as well, like 7-6-5 rainbow or something, range check. I'll open this. See, this is like, if there's a couple of positions later, I want to play this hand, but... Have others noticed how rec players have increasingly begun to min 3-bet a lot? I haven't noticed, no, but I've not really been playing much last few months. They've all seen the same bad YouTube video or guide. Maybe, or it could just be variants. It could be like one of those things where like it's always happened, but now your brain started logging it for some reason because you went through like... This happens sometimes in poker, right? Where you go through a period... Easy call here with Queen 9. I don't want to squeeze a hand this low down against 52 VPIP. I just want to be a bit bulkier when I squeeze. What was I going to say? Like, your brain logs something because you go through variants of it happening a lot. Like, say you get 3-bet a lot one day, and your brain's like, oh, everyone's 3-betting more. And they're not actually 3-betting more, it's just variants. And the next day, they're not 3-betting any more than they were, like, last week. But because the day before, they were 3-betting a lot due to variants, you now log it every time you get 3-bet, and now your brain thinks everyone's 3-betting all the time. It's definitely like a phenomenon that happens. It's like a kind of illusion that dupes us poker players, for sure. We're going to have a rest after this, and then I might see if I can... I don't know, there's not much happening in this session. I'm just going to see if I can make some shorts out of what happens here. Maybe I can of that hand where we just call the river. That's a really instructive spot. I can probably make a short out of that. Such a valuable thing. But yeah, if I can get a few things I can make a short out of, that would be good. Yes, the lamp, the dim lamp in the corner of the room spots, absolutely. Quite a hideous avatar, right? What do you think about the white background? Do you think it'd be better if it was just on like the grey of the GG avatar? Like if we just had transparent. I don't know why it didn't go transparent. Or do you think it's good with the white background? Kind of stands out, right? Maybe I like it. Okay, we have a splash pot, guys, and we have King 5 off. From too early a position to do anything. What kind of animals are goats compared to ducks? I would say goats, but they're not actually goats. Goats are also... I have one goat that I really like. We have 3 goats. We had 4, but one randomly died. Like, he got up one day and just stood on a dead goat. Like, he was already dead. And the thing with goats is, like, we have this one goat called Gruffalo, otherwise known as Goat. Like, we call him Goat. And Goat is a horrible goat because he thinks he's above most people. He doesn't think he's above me, because I've had to assert my authority and dominance upon him. I've had to dominate the goat called Goat. This is my life, right? And people ask me, what does it mean to dominate a goat? Like, what does that entail? And generally it entails frightening them, like making them not so confident you're not just going to kill them. You're not going to kill them, right? You're not like doing anything. You're not hitting them. You're not actually like causing them any harm. But you can be really scary and you can run at them shouting, or you can wield like a chair in your arm and flap it about the place and just make yourself look like a monster to them. And then they stop trying to dominate you. They stop bashing you with their horns. But because my wife hasn't done this and kind of refuses to do this, she doesn't have it in her to go out and start flailing around and screaming and charging at an animal. He thinks he's above her, but he's not totally confident in it. So he decides to like prove the point pretty frequently by barging her in the garden. Okay, so this recreational can have almost anything here. And I think with this hand, the fold equity we get is largely not that useful, but letting villain just spew with bad stuff is very useful. And we just have showdown value anyway, so I think call. And even though the SPR is coming down a bit on turn now, I'm just going to call relatively quickly. Not going to take ages and ages, because I want villain to just continue betting river with absolutely nothing. Now their most likely hand is a 9 or nothing. And the question is, what do we do? I'm just going to shove. I'm not going to get at all fancy here. I'm just going to shove. And this is a spot where it's really hard for me to be bluffing. Like, it is not easy at all for me to be bluffing this spot. But it's a recreational, so who cares? But I think leaving their range very wide there is right. For sure, at that SPR. Ace King, we have called a 3-bet, 10-4-3. We're going to play range check. Jack 5, is that a call against men? I don't really know. Lead this time. And pure continue on flop. Don't have too many raises against this sizing. It's going to call and call turn. Hand is completely invincible and doesn't really gain anything by raising here. It's not like we get bet called by ace queen all that often. And I think on this roll, we're going to play the Jack 5 aggressively. Doesn't go for it on 9-8 despite that run out. Come on, what are we going for it on then? Probably get that through with Jack 5. So yeah, playing bet 3-bet there makes a lot of sense at a decent clip, because your range is just sets, 2 pairs, and straights, and villains isn't. So when you do get small raised by their kind of thin value / bluff range, the semi-polarized range compared to yours, you want to then repolarize and come over the top again at a good frequency, right? On the right hand table. I'll just bet 1 big blind here with ace jack. This is a 1 big blind bet board for me. Jack high is 2x pot. Jack against fish, I don't generally 2x pot. Unless for value against a stationary fish. Okay, so a few more interesting hands for some shorts now. Do you guys watch shorts on poker? Like, what poker shorts do you like? If you do watch shorts, tell me. Tell me in the chats right now. Yeah, I used PNG for transparency. It's weird. Like, I actually know that from previous experience. Sharpie Hop, for some reason, it just didn't work on GG. Like, it looks transparent. Oh no, that's a JPEG? What? I thought I downloaded it. Okay, maybe something went wrong. I'll download it again and upload as a PNG, and we'll see what that looks like. It might be better without the background, I don't know. I want some rakeback promo as well. Like, we have like bronze shrimp or whatever it's called right now. We have like absolutely no rakeback. Platinum fish. What's platinum fish? Receive $1 platinum for every 500 fish points. What does this mean, guys? Is this good? Is this bad? How do I improve it? Platinum fish is a permanent rank and does not have an expiration. What? Can someone tell me what's going on with that rakeback on GG? Like, I literally don't know. Find out more about fish buffet ranks. Okay. Queen 7, do a little bit of 3-bet. We keep rolling these, man. Platinum fish. Flat cashback weekly payout. Did I choose this at some point? Do I have the option of like not being platinum fish anymore? Like, how does it work? Oscar, hello, says hi bro, greetings from Bolivia. I don't get a lot of Bolivian students, viewers. Thanks for tuning in, man. How is Bolivia this time of year? I know nothing about Bolivia. I know it's in South America. I know that the football team generally doesn't do as well as Argentina or Brazil or Chile or any of the other South American teams, really. That's all I know, though. You need to tell me more. Nines, I'm just going to fold in these positions to this size of 4-bet. You have completed the day 7 mission and received chips for the flip out on Jan 13th. Oh, shut up. And yes, I am stuck in the micro. Well, it is 25% off right now at Carrot Corner. If it's time to get a proper poker education, your English seems like it's good. So yeah. What's your blitz rating? I want to tell you my blitz rating now because the only times I've played is like messing about. But my peak blitz rating is like, my peak 5-minute rating is like 1880 on chess.com, 1900-ish. Average when I played seriously was about 1770, 1780. I don't play anymore though. Bridge and poker is enough for me. Just keep it cards, you know, keep it cards. Hashtag keep it cards. Chess is a trap, man. You end up in some church hall or village hall with like smelly old men farting. And you're like, what am I doing with my weekend? Like, why am I here? Stinking, unhygienic, socially inept men sitting in a village hall. That's what chess is, man. Okay, bridge is the same, but with old people. Like, lots of old people. Baseline, small blind, UTG, meh. Let's take or leave that spot. I just tend to leave these spots. I don't actually think I'm that good against under the gun as a small blind cold color. I don't think I've studied that enough to think like, wow, I have such a good edge there. I can take that spot. Or 3-better, actually. Don't really care. Checking everything here, probably. You could actually not with the fish in play here. I will play some bet. Half pot here should be very strong. I predict this is a very strong range of like high equity draws and value. This is not the kind of board you want to just attack a fish on because a fish doesn't understand that like ace-8 is not a good hand on this board. He checks turn. It's interesting, quite quickly as well. May have a jack here, like jack 10 or something. May just have like some bluff he doesn't want to follow through with, which should be fair enough. I actually will to check here. I just didn't have time. I was worried I was going to time out. 7s half pot. What is that? Why would you half pot 7s against the fish there? Why would you do that? Ignorant end of the straight, as they say. Showdown value to some extent. Uncapped range checking to you potentially with some traps in it, although maybe not. Fish behind is going to overvalue an 8. Like, why are we betting the flop half pot there? This guy gets the... I don't know if you're very good. Brown tag. No, it's not that bad. We'll leave it for now, but yeah. Don't know. Bit of a weird flop bet. Don't like it. You need to opt out of Platinum Fish and change to one of the other fish levels so you can rank up. Do I want to do that? Like, I don't think I'm going to be... Like, I'm not trying to make profit. I'm only, like, trying to play with sludge avatars, spuds, so... That's why we're on GG. You have 2 options, says Radu. Premium on Twitch. Premium whatever fish you have. That's constant, never changes. Or the random chest of money. You can't change between for a month. Right, but what do I want to do? I should have 3-bet here against 46 VPET, probably. How many tables is this guy actually playing? Saffros. Play pot check here. Got the nut shot. We'll pot. We calls, huh? I think we still continue betting here at some frequency. We can go either way. We do have the Queen of Spades. We have rolled a 99. I don't think this is pure on the 8 turn. Way more his card than mine. And then he bets river and we're going to fold. Saffros. Doesn't really matter, but who was that? Yeah, I don't think turn's an overfolded spot. That's why I'm not just like closing my eyes and betting the hand again. Jack 10 off here is kind of meh. Tight looking table. Ace Queen of Diamonds, you can go either way. You can call. You can 3-bet. I think my hand's really indifferent here. I'm just going to fold. I think my hand's a 0 EV call. I'm not convinced the cold 4-bet in that position is really... They're really bothering to slow down and find the bluffs. Like, think about it, right? You're leaderboarding or you're 4-tabling or whatever these regs are doing at 100 to try and make some rake back and stuff. Are you really going to, like, notice when you have one of the 4-bet bluffs in those positions? I kind of don't think that you are. Let's go on a little adventure here with pocket 4s from the small blind. I like to be in it to win it in these spots. Interesting note. I might go for giant check raise. The advantage of this is that check still has a lot of EV. He just hit a ton of ace-x. We'll just block. Seems right. This pool is so damn passive. I feel like you block there and you have like 60% fold equity or something. It's insane. Because they're just so underprotected and they're so unwilling to call low absolute hand strength hands to bluff catch either. So these spots are very overfolded. I'm not supposed to be able to bluff like successfully there, but I think we can. No, it's too thin! Classic moment. Been a bad beat moment. If that fish had more with Jack 8, I'd consider 3-bet. Best shorts are Eastwood getting stacked and losing his mind. Yeah. What happened to Obese Beast? He's been replaced with Mucus Muck, but it was actually Bluffosaurus for like a whole year before that. I just didn't play very much when I was Bluffosaurus. But we're now Mucus Muck. Which I really like. It's growing on me. This guy is growing on me. Let's go and range a big blind. Checking the king 7 here, but definitely some bluffs like jack 10 and stuff. The big donk's a thing. We don't have a decision with our hand. Definitely a thing you can do. Rolling a lot of like 3-bet bluffs. I just roll like low frequency with all of these combos. I don't think about it too much. And with no hearts or clubs and 1 undercard here, I'm just going to check fold the flop. And it's almost time for me to have a chill. And I might see if I can, I don't know, there's not many great shorts. I might just make some shorts of me like saying stuff about poker. Would you watch it if I was just like ranting about a spot? Maybe reviewing a hand in PT4 and just like coming up with a quick lesson in like 1 minute. You'd watch that, right? Something like that. Try and make a few shorts after I've had a break. Let me go pot check in this spot for now. I've not fully fleshed out the toolkit here, but this one seems reasonable. Queen 6-6 is one big blinder check. Am I speaking too far away from the mic? Sorry, guys. Being lazy. So 8-9, King 9 isn't much of a thing. Queen 9 is. 8-9. Ace King isn't much of a thing. Where did my bet go? I just pressed bet, right? How does it not bet there? Did I time out? I really didn't want to check this river because villain hits a load of bluff catcher that checks back on this river. Maybe I timed out. I was sure I pressed bet. This has happened to me so many times. Oh, okay. I think we beat value like Queen 10 and stuff, so we're just calling. It's pretty simple. We can't raise. I didn't want to check call the spot. I wanted to bet, which would have been a similar result. We would have bet and he would have called. I don't think we can shove there against that sizing. I think it's too thin. No, it's too thin! The gate 9 off is in there, right? A little bit King 9 of clubs. Maybe some other King 9. Annoying, I thought I'd bet river. Bet's a better line, because he just has a load of like condensed stuff and checkbacks. How often do you actually play? Hardly ever, but I will be streaming more this year, which means playing more. And just bringing you more content of me playing. But outside of content, zero. I don't have the time to play outside of content. It doesn't make sense to me to play outside of content, right? Because I have to run the company and it takes way too much time. This is part of running the company, what I'm doing here. This is like promoting the January sale. You'd watch a video about the ducks, a short about the ducks. We could do that. We did shorts about the goats before as well. I'm going to just put in a little cheeky float here with this hand and this texture. It's probably a bit too wet of a texture for this. The drier the texture, the more you can do this, but there's some backdoors. Raise is probably also okay on flop. But I think check and then bluff river is great here as well. River's going to be really overfolded. I have to check back here. So absolutely bluffing. Favorable spot for range as well. We do have some showdown in this spot, but definitely bluffing. See, the aggressive goat isn't that aggressive with me. That's the thing. I need to get my wife on camera for that. Jimmy Carbat, what's going on? Sislo Carrot, how are you? Okay, so we've actually hit something here. But again, if we block, he does think on the turn. Like he's got some kind of value. I think we'll go with this then. Because if he's got some thin value like 2-pair here, I really want to get this block in. And he might bluff raise anyway. And we just saved a stack against that hand. Wow. I like it. I like the B10 there. Weapons of War, by the way, goes into B10. All the situations you can use it. It's a great river line. No one knows how to react to it. It's another one of these like deep dark forest lines that takes them out of their comfort zone. Sorry, Jimmy. Hello, Carrot. How are you? Big fan. First time seeing you live on YouTube. Greetings from Netherlands. Hey, Jimmy. Good to have you here. Make sure to use the far effect in your short. Okay. You guys have been a big help today in picking a new avatar. And we'll be back with more streams. There'll be another one later this week because I don't think I'm quite ready to record without some more training in that node. So I'm going to drill that node again probably tomorrow. Join me for that. Play a bit of poker again with you guys. Don't know what time, but I'll let you know in the Discord if you're in the Discord. If you want to get in the Discord, just get grade 1 or higher of the Carrot Poker School or get the full school of the Golden Carrot. It's 25% off again for January, just to remind you. And we have a video coming out in a couple of days, which is Coaching Journey Season 3, Episode 9. And there'll be a hiatus until the start of February before we record episode 10. We're giving Shu and Jurgen time to put in the final grind before we compare the results. All right, guys. See you soon. Talk to you on the Discord. And if you want to get in touch with me, Feel free to email us as well, support@carrotcorner.com, if you've got any questions about our content, if we can help in any way. We'll get back to you. All right. Take it easy.